Hello and welcome to the Ultra Drive podcast. Today we have an episode that I've been looking forward to a very long time, a couple of months. So I'm really curious for the story of our guest. How about you, Aaron?
Yeah, for me the same. It's a very interesting podcast today, a very interesting guest. It's a different podcast, not so performance related or specific athlete, but more around a product. And so I'm looking forward to the new podcast.
Not an advertising.
Yeah.
Yeah, indeed. The people that are watching on Spotify and YouTube, maybe they can see it already because there are some products here on our table. But welcome, Pieter.
Yeah.
Pieter Wijnant from Adapt Brand.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you all the way from the Netherlands.
Yeah, well, I was born in Belgium, so it's good to be home as well.
And where do you come from in Belgium?
Geraardsbergen. Grammel.
Yeah.
Okay.
The heart of it. Also, the heart of cycling. The muur.
Yeah.
Famous indeed. But you're in Belgium for Velo Folies.
Yeah.
The cycling fair, the cycling exposition.
Yeah. So we have a collaboration between Thomson, which is, I think, the oldest cycling brand in Belgium and maybe even further. So there's a nice collaboration that we did. And so it's the first time actually showing our product towards the cycling world, which is quite exciting. I couldn't sleep yesterday. And then when we placed the product, today was fine. You have to let it go, and then it takes on its own life.
How was it?
Yeah, it was big. It was a big. It's the first time I went to a Velo Folie. I didn't expect the trade show to be that massive. To be honest, what Thomson had was I think they have one of the biggest stands. They had 80 bikes there, and it was 30 or 40 meters long. Trade show, which from my perspective is coming from ice skating and inline skating. When we do a trade show, it's mostly you have one or two tables and that's about it, and it's okay, cool. For me, I think it's an honor to have the opportunity to do something like this. It's amazing. Yeah.
And how did the product do it? Was it welcomed? Was there a lot of curious guests?
People always touch it when it says don't touch it. But this is something that will take probably a while. Within skating, where Adapt is kind of born from, it also took a while before you convince people. The idea with Adapt is it's not just a product that somebody can copy easy, or you go to China, let's say, to have it replicated or whatever. Adapt is different mindset. It's more about the art and the craft, the fit. Everything together has to work, and only then, when it works, we will bring it, to for people to see. Yeah, and there is never the mentality for a mass market. Even the opposite.
Okay.
Which is when we went to Velo Folie was whoa, it's so big, and I hope that there's a couple of souls that see what it is, the craft behind, and that they get in touch with us to maybe create something unique for them. So
Can you explain a little bit more about what is Adapt?
Long story. So in short, Adapt is basically my life dream. It is everything that I like to do. So if I'm interested in skating, which I have been doing for 33 years now, that's what I'm going to create. I want to create a product that is so unique and so special with the highest amount of detail. Cost is never the issue.
Yeah.
So when something is better, we do it. It doesn't matter. Nothing is cheaply manufactured with us. So that's one of the things, like the core of Adapt. And then because of my background with previous jobs I did, so I also went from only free skates or aggressive stunt skates. I also went into different ventures because I really liked it. I used to do cycling when I was a kid. So now I'm like, oh, but now I have the option to create my own cycling shoe. I used to do hockey skating or ice skating. I have my own hockey skate. There's everything that I love, and it's mostly with wheels. So everything is faster with wheels. Then when I want to do it, I'll create it. And the vision was always, if I want it, there's more people out there with the same mentality, how they look towards a product. When I go to, let's say, a normal bike shop, it's not to say anything bad about brands, because we need all the brands out there to represent, and there's a lot of people that need shoes. But when I go there, for me, Adapt is like, you can talk to me in person. I also want to understand the customer. So sometimes I actually say, maybe this product is not for you, because of, I don't know what sort of reason. But that's the main thing, where with Adapt, it's literally like, we welcome you sort of on board, and we also want to keep you happy. So that's a big part of what Adapt is. So special something in a world of a lot of production.
So I read that the first shoe you showed to the people, it was in 2011, 2012. Is that right?
Oh yeah, like the inline skate. Yeah. So it was 2011, and we worked first for 2 years in secret on the skate.
So we started in 2009 then.
Yeah. That's when I had my skate shop closed, and then I moved to the Netherlands to work for ice skate company, which is called Evo. It's now been sold, so it's still Evo, is like a bit of a different company. And I worked there for 8 years, making only the best ice skates in the world, sort of. And
it's a high-end brand.
We did very well in the short track division. We had multiple Olympic gold medals with Evo. And then that kind of, because I worked there, we had a very nice understanding that the boss, Edward, kind of, it was me and him and another guy. And when I left, there was almost like close to 20 people working there. But we still had that same relationship. And he always would let me do whatever I want. He could see my passion. If I could do whatever for Adapt, I would work better for his company as well. So everything I learned for Adapt, I put into Evo as a ice skating brand, like design and structures of like the carbon fiber. That's my main interest, to be honest. Me and carbon fiber. That's so it kind of went. That had a big part of my process in what I wanted to create. And then from the ice skating, I kind of had a burnout, not a burnout, maybe. I needed something else. I needed a new motivation. And ice skate market, the high-end one, is really picky on how it sits on the foot. And that's a very interesting thing, is that because of the shoes that people wear during the summer, the foot basically adjusts towards insoles or not supportive insoles, or the feet footwear that you have, and then they would cramp their foot again for the new season into that hard carbon shell, which was custom molded for them, and they would always have to adjust it every year, because of like everything in the foot like lives, and then when you walk all the time on something with no support, and then you put your feet again, it has to adjust. The more they were on the ice, the better it got. But for the top of the range, athletes, they had to always come back every year to have it refitted or remolded, stuff like this. So as interested as I was in this, it was also one of the things I was thinking about. How can we make that easier? How can we make it better? Because not everybody is interested in always going full custom, because it takes a lot of work. If you want a custom shoe, it's probably not one trip to get it. It's multiple. And then every year, again, depending on what sports you do, whatever you do, you might need adjustments. And that's when I came up with the idea that is now what we do with Adapt in inline skating, but also in the cycling or in quad skating, is that we made a structural shell in carbon, and that has almost, I think it's 500 lasts an average built into it.
Okay.
And then the inside of the shoe is basically what can form inside of that last, in that shell.
Yeah.
And that was one of the ideas. So it's like a mid in between from full custom. It's in the middle. It's not like a standard shoe, because you can do a lot of adjustments, but it's not that you can do it maybe even at home,
Okay.
And that's, And I forgot the question.
The question was, it all started in 2011 with the first inline skate.
Yeah. So it was a long journey, to be honest, but I'm really happy I made the decision at that time to fully commit. I was doing other jobs as well, always within sports, but I did commit, like in my head, like, okay, I'm gonna do this. And it's been an amazing journey, to be honest. We had amazing customers. I think 2011 was very weird to go to a trade show for the first time and then display your product, that you like put everything into it.
Yeah.
And you don't know what to expect. And you have no idea. It's like, is somebody gonna buy it? And then, but the idea was always, I want the product. So no matter what, sure, it would have been sad if nobody would bought it. But the idea was, okay, it's for me, and I want to improve it. I want to make it better. And because of the ice skating background, and I was able to use all the machinery for free, which was amazing. I had all these CNC machines, and I could do the leather work and everything. And I did that after working hours. And that kind of developed Adapt from then. And then it went through different stages, I would say. So there was the first it was full-on aggressive skating, so stunt skating, because that's mostly my background. And also my wife was a 6 times Dutch champion in park skating. So that was our background. But I'm also somebody that likes marathon skating. I like endurance. I like to kind of find new ways to enjoy speed with skating or other ventures. And then from this, it started to evolve. And the first time we actually had a lot of success was when we released our first free skate, which is more for a bigger market. It's a bigger wheels on the skates. And that skate literally took Adapt like up 20 times.
Okay.
Yeah. I think we then made the GTO model, and that's when people kind of started relating. We named it the hyper skate. The first, it's not a normal skate, it's a hyper skate.
Yeah.
It's like, in every sense, it's better because we put more effort into it. It's not saying your product is not as good. We're saying ours is better because we put all this effort into it.
Yeah.
And like even a bolt would be the highest grade of steel.
Yeah.
And it came out of the Netherlands,
Yeah.
And then now we even have them machined because we're not happy with what's available.
Yeah.
So that's what it evolved into. Adapt was almost like a research center for how good can we make a product.
Yeah.
And one of my biggest, it's not a regret, but it's the inline skate market is a niche market.
Yeah.
And in the Netherlands, it's quite okay. And then we sell in 65 countries worldwide. So it's fine. But it always felt like, and this is not to say negative, but it always felt a bit like pearls for, how to say it, pearls for the pigs. It's not what I mean, but it's all this craft and all these things that I learned over the years. And I kind of want to share it with a bigger audience, not mass produced, but if somebody would experience this during cycling and be like, whoa, this is very unique, because that's what it is. That's, for me, it's again something new to achieve and make people happy. So I will always be somebody that's coming from inline skating, is an inline skater, but my roots are Gerardsbergen, and my family was all into cycling, and I was the odd one. I was the one that is like, oh, my grandma would still ask me like, what do you do? Is it on a skateboard? And I was like, no, but I have been living from this sport for 33 years, and still they don't recognize it, But if I would have invested, let's say, from the start in cycling, but for me, it's passion, It takes me wherever it needs to go. I meet people and that's how it goes, and then if people like it, I'm happy, and I mean, that's a long journey to come from 2011 to, I would say now is like, for me, a big, last year was the biggest change we made. During COVID, probably everybody knows, everything with cycling, like solo sport
it exploded,
went up. Same for us. Our accountant was like, hello, yes, thank you. This is amazing. And even if it felt, we were one of the only companies in the world that could still make and provide skates. Because everything in China was shut off from the world. So all the companies were selling stock, but it ran dry. And then they realized, wait, there is this one company that hand makes it. So our sales, I think it was, I don't know how many in percentages, but it's like, let's say plus 600%.
Wow.
And
that felt amazing.
We were not expecting this. So from having fear during COVID, like the first was like, are we done? Is this it? To only work, emails. I took screenshots. We had over 150 emails a day.
Wow.
And I would come down, like, I'm trying. Adapt is always answering everybody, even if it's like an email, just like, we answer. And I was like, oh, this is getting too much. And so it was it was good money-wise. It was the first time we had budget. We were like, oh, this is great, And then we felt so used almost because of the high demand. And then last year was the switch. So we used the budget to move to a more quiet place, where we have our factory behind our house. And basically what we did was we said no to mass production, or going towards mass production. And what we did, it was kind of weird move, but again, always passion driven, always. And we said no to the high numbers and said, let's go back to what made us happy. And that what made us happy was getting in touch with the customer, getting in touch with working on one pair and putting all the effort in that one pair. And when they get it, they're like, wow, this is amazing. Well, hopefully,
to see the smile.
I had during my injury now, I had a lot of emails, like customers emailing me like, hey, do you want me to pre-order something so we can help you with money? And I was like, oh, that's nice, but I don't want to work that way. But then they send me clips of them skating on my skates, and it really got me emotional as well. It was like, you know, when I was 12 years old, I was dreaming about doing this, and now I'm making people happy, you know, and
Yeah.
I think that's what I want to do. You know, that's amazing. You know, I think you can relate even when you make somebody better,
Yeah.
and then they're like, oh, thank you. You know, I can move again or whatever. You know,
Yeah.
I can relate to that, where it's like you make somebody happy, and in the end, yes, you have to run a business, yes, but I feel that if you're very passionate and strong about what you do, and you have an opinion, that's when people find you, and you find the same kind of people, you know, that want it.
If you're passionate, you feel passionate people as well. You find passionate people as well. Yeah.
And it's nice to have like, we don't like, now what we did was we only make the very high-end skates, like literally, like it's high-end, but when you see how it's made, you understand why. Because like, yes, this is a shoe that can cost over €1,000. Oh, but somebody's working 32 hours on this. And it's not like, oh, I ordered this or this. No, we made it.
It has a story.
It has a story, and I mean, it's not a shoe you get for your first cycling experience, but it's the one that you get when maybe you have that bike you always saved up for, and you want something that is like, you know what? I want something very nice in life, you know, that is unique, or and that, I think that's the market we're going for.
What interests me is also, how do you end up making shoes? Like, as a little kid, you were in Belgium, I think.
That's a weird thing.
Yeah.
I always, for some reason, so when we would walk down a street with my mom, or with my how do you say it, Meme, like what's a grandmother?
Grandmother,
I would always have to. I stopped at two shops always. So one is jewelry, and the other one is shoes. And I always had to look, and not even to buy. I was the kid that did 3-4 years with a pair of shoes. And I would fix them, and I would make them again good, and I would try different insoles. When I was a kid, you bought a shoe, and then you destroy it in 3 months, and then your parents complain about it, that you have to buy new shoes. My mom would never complain, because she was always like, oh, these shoes almost got better during their life, you know. And I would always feel bad when somebody would do like a stain on it or something. I was like, you know, that it fits so well, it's good, you know, it's my shoe. And I always had this. It's something that it's hard to explain, because I don't have like an orthopedic background, but I can read a foot. It's weird. I don't know what it is, but it is like this, because in the ice skating, I was known for that. Oh, this is somebody with, let's say, diabetes or something, where they have very difficult, you know, it's a very delicate, how do you say, like,
Skin,
you have to be careful.
Yeah.
And I would take the time, and I would look at the issue and be like, okay, so maybe we need something here. We need a bit more space here. We need to pressure there. And then, you know, they would 9 times out of 10, because it is hard sizing with what do you need? What are you doing? How do you walk? You know, it's hard. It's not like making a backpack and everybody, oh, it fits, you know. This always had me, I always want somebody to be like, wow.
Yeah.
When you try it on, I was like, wow, this is like a glove, you know, but then a shoe. And I don't know what it is. It's for me, and still, I still stop at shoe stores to watch, you know, like,
what's your opinion about a modern shoe?
Oof, yeah.
I know it's a rabbit hole.
I don't want to get canceled in the world.
Go ahead.
I don't want to be on a blacklist from Nike or okay, so what I feel towards, and that goes towards materials, but it's a very good thing to start.
Yeah.
So people started cheaping out on a lot of materials, but you don't realize it. So foams would be, hey, this feels different than, let's say, 10 years ago. I think that's a bad way to start, when you see what the standard insole is on a Nike, or I'm just saying a brand.
Yeah.
I mean, this goes towards nobody, but you take out that insole and now there are all these foam insoles. And that foam, I actually react very badly to it. I get very sweaty feet. And I normally don't ever have sweaty feet. It makes the foot very unbalanced all the time. So you're always putting strain on everything in the body. And this relates to the leg, the knee goes up,
The kinetic chain.
Yes. Yeah. And there's two ways I would say now that you have the shoes that are actually designed to be good, that are more rigid, because people sometimes think hey, this is hard. It's not comfortable. No. If it's perfect and it's designed for you, then it's comfortable. And you can wear this for hours and hours and hours, and you will not have my feet, I have to get these shoes off, And then you have the shoes where it's more fashion. And I think because of Instagram and everything that's going on with social media, it gets the upper hand. So it's like everything in the world. It's a phone. You use it for this amount of years, but the company is already thinking about you need to buy a new one. And this is very interesting, where in the past, a family would buy a car, and that was the family car. And they would run that car, they would fix it if something happened, and they would keep that car. It's very green, actually. Even if there was smoke coming out, still, there was one car being produced. Then they found out that a light bulb was lasting forever, but that doesn't sell.
Yeah.
So they sold one light bulb. And now they were thinking, wait, what if we make it only last 10,000 hours? What if we only make it 2,000 hours? And then this trend of selling, and big companies always need to make better numbers every year. It's if we're not better, it's almost like we're going bankrupt.
Yeah.
I was where did all the other money go to, when you were doing okay? And this, I feel, is, I don't know, I don't like the trend where quality is not really fully there, but it's more branding. So it's, let's say, 100% branding, and then the quality has shifted a bit down because they can make it cheaper. Now I saw this, it's insane what they can do. I mean, I saw a brand that is literally spraying on a last, and that's the shoe. And it's 2 minutes. I don't know, it was a video on YouTube. I was like, what? Whoa. I showed it to my wife. She was like, okay. But it's literally a machine doing this, and there is no support. There is no nothing in it. And when you see those the soles, where, it's the density of the material, and it's hard to compare, because when you would have an old shoe, it would have almost deteriorated because of foams and plastics. They go down. So it's hard to compare. But if you would do a durometer to check what the hardness is, now is way softer and way cheaper produced than what it was back in the day. And for me, that's with Adapt. I don't want to go that way. We have people that are writing me an email, hey, I have the first pair. And I'm like, okay, maybe he has it in a collector box. No, he skates it every day.
Yeah.
For 14, 15 years, which is in skating unheard of. Yeah. I'm like, okay, cool. But yeah, the same goes with the idea of this, is that you can refurbish. Something I love to do. When I was a kid with the shoes, I was like, let's make them last long. And we kind of found a way to even build our business around it, because people would always buy skates and then they would be destroyed, because it is a sport where a lot of bashing and everything. So it is a product that is kind of designed for destruction, and then you have an adapt which is built to be not destructive, So, but then people with these models, we call them the masterpieces. So they actually take care of them. We have a register of what happens with them. We know the customers that have them, which is the same that we're going to do with this. So you're basically in our filing list where we everything comes with a handwritten certificate, and we know where it goes to, and please take care of it. And then let's say you damage something or you have a really bad fall. The first prototype was given to Wesley, who is the owner of TBT, Training Beats Talent, which we have the collab on. And he had the actual very first prototype, like early. He said, "Can you make a shoe?" I was like, "Sure." I made him a shoe. He won his first cycling race on it. He was like, "Hey, I won a race." I was like, "Okay, cool." And then he had a really nasty fall. And this construction kind of saved his foot, because he went through the chain fully. And there was nothing. Sure, you could see damage. But the construction was as one, And that got me to the idea, like, hey, we can actually make these perfect again. So we can take out this lining piece, which we call a skeleton lining. We can take it out. It's something we do. It's not supposed to, you're not supposed to take it out. So we can take it out. We can repaint it. We can even fix like the car, if there would be something with the carbon, or you have a really bad fall, we can fix it. We can do like all those pieces in rubber, which are 3D printed, actually, rubber. That's pretty cool. And we even have it's from the car world. We have a PPF foil, which is see-through, so it protects here. So if you would clip not in the pedal, you would have damage in the carbon. And this actually, with heat, you can heal it again.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's replaceable. You don't see it, right? Almost. You see that line here, but so most of the things is like my vision on the world now. With everything starts to be, so you have the big companies, and that's for the mass following, which is fine. And then you have the direction I like to see, is where people care. And it doesn't matter if they made something with wood, and they say, like, look, and we made this, and you get it from a personal contact. You get it from looking somebody in the eye and being, oh, this is amazing, and it's something you could even maybe pass on later. That for me has way more value than, oh, this is the newest, I don't know. And let me always get that. I get it in a way, it feeds people, if you always have 10 years the same thing, okay, you might want a new bike, of course, but if you look at the market from cycling, the amount of changes they made, now it's getting a bit different, actually. But they went from the, how do you say it, the Bolhoofd,
the stem.
Yeah, they went from the conies. I don't know in English. That's only done to have you buy the new one. There is sort of a thinking behind it, but then they're like, oh, we adjusted the wheel size, and then they went 27 and a half, and then now it's to 29, and you keep buying, and it's the same with the gravel bike. And I'm not saying there's something wrong with that, because it's fun to see new things, of course. But as a company, it's hard to keep up. It's hard to be like, oh man, damn, what's a new trend now? And you always have to produce new things. Where in, let's say, the 50s, this is a bike design, and mostly people would make bikes, and they would still last today if they wouldn't have thrown them out, and now there's this people that are retro fitting all bikes, and still an old Dura Ace is still working,
Still works.
you know.
Yeah.
So I see more value, but that's very personal.
Yeah.
So I fully understand if you're like one of the riders that is like at the Tour de France or whatever, and you want to have, of course, you're going to ride whatever the sponsor is giving you, and it's going to be the best of the best technology. Sorry. With this, it's very technical. It's very towards the foot, like how we sculpted and made it. But it also has the handmade. It's very important.
Yeah, that's something that I love. That you really put the customer at first place.
Yeah.
And also your shoes are actually built to refurbish them.
Yeah.
And that's something really interesting. And also, okay, you say they will cost a lot more than a regular shoe, but when you think, okay, right now a new cycling shoe, yeah, it's already 300 euros.
Yeah. And if you want like a higher end, you're already
indeed.
even.
But after 2 years of intensive cycling, they're gone.
Yeah.
And you need to buy another pair.
Yeah.
And 2 years later, another pair. And then eventually you will end up paying more than you will.
True. Yeah. Yeah, it is actually. We also have a lot of like pride in that people would keep them. For me, it's almost like a goal to be like, oh, I still have a pair, you know, and I had this one saying where I said like all that will be remembered is the masterpieces we leave behind. So in the end, when I stop doing this, or you know, or you know, I'm not there anymore, you know, I hope that people would still maybe have a pair or something that I created, you know. For me that's.
But maybe to go towards the process of building a shoe, how does it start?
Yeah, so at the moment we're still figuring out a lot, to be honest. But yeah, people can actually write us an email. So you go on the website, and then you can just click on, you know, you need to contact us. You know, it's not. I'm gonna. When you write me on Instagram, I'm just gonna say write me an email, because I feel that's very important that I take my time for you, that I'm replying to you. So when I would answer at night, like, this is the price, you know, this is it. No, that's not good enough. So you write me a personal email so that I know the intent of you actually want this. Then we do a small check basically on what shoes did you have before? What's your thinking of the sizing? And that comes again with we use the centimeters or inches if it's in the US. And then we basically have a couple of options. So depending on, we ask for pictures of your feet, which at one point somebody said, you know, you can make a lot of money with this. I'm like, how? So yeah, you know, it's like it's a fetish. I was like, okay, well, my computer is full of pictures of feet, but it's like all with measurements and all that stuff. I was like, okay, yeah, maybe, you know, when this doesn't work, I'll get into that.
When you get home, there will be plenty of people at the door.
So, somebody like said, because she was like, can you send a picture? I was like, well, I'm hesitant. I was like, what's the issue, you know, like, and then she said, anyway. So, and then that's what I said, like, I kind of can read when I see a foot. I have to see like also the arch and get a bit of knowledge, but mostly I can transfer this into, okay, how will it fit in our mold last, and if you need adjustments, or is it going to work with only the heat molding, then basically you're fine. You can do it on your own. But otherwise, we can do even a preheat session for you. So if you have like a wider foot, we can open up the shell a bit more, or think about making a wider shell uniquely for you. That's also something we can do. It will always be this design. We're not going to do the full custom. In my view, it's not pretty, and they're nice. Not to say anything bad, because it's a hard job to do every shoe. But I like when something looks very classy and very cool. So yeah, and that's basically the steps. It's just getting in touch with us, and then basically we follow up on this, and then it depends on you if you want a pair or not. So we're not really pushy. I don't like to be pushy, you know. So,
Can you tell something more about the lasts? Because you said you made them yourself because you couldn't find any that would fit.
Yeah. So mostly in the industry, there was always I don't know in cycling, to be honest. But within inline skating and ice skating, they would always use lasts that are mostly developed in China. Chinese have different feet. So mostly they were also based on women's feet. And then a lot of people say, I have a very wide foot because they don't fit in most of the shoes. And that's mostly, I'm not saying that's for everybody, but mostly it is because due to the last not being made to properly fit, you know, the customer, actually, to be honest. So my idea was, I also thought I had very wide feet. And I kind of did measurements, and I made like a cast of my foot with like the plaster. And from this I started molding, and then not shaving but adding to make it very smooth, and then calculated kind of roughly what the thicknesses would be of whatever I was building, and then add this, but also calculate that you need sort of a positive pressure, because if you would make it this big, yes, it fits, but there is no performance. So that's very in ice skating, it's very important that you have performance. So the reason that sometimes, yes, you fit perfectly in it and it maybe doesn't look like it, if your feet don't get sleepy or tinkly, then you're fine. You know, they have to be snug in order to put the performance down. So I made the first last for my foot. From this, I started sculpting, basically, and then I went to a wooden last, copied it, and from the wooden last, we had it scanned, and then we tried different variations on this. This was all still doing the inline skate, so they're very difficult lasts because they're higher because of like the cuff part and on the leg, so they're very difficult lasts to make. So when we did that, we started off with the most difficult part. To go back to this was almost like, it's only easy, actually. So everything with a low cut boot is quite easy. I don't, if you have to start from zero, it's the same process almost, but we already did the work for other boots. We did fine tune, so these are wider than this one, actually. So we did fine tune it by testing. We tested now over 2 years, and just by making the heel more narrow. Here it's quite wide, then it got changed. The new one, that is the final result, is again here more narrow, but it's not like the full narrow where you're like fully stuck. Making less is quite tricky job, sort of. But the cool thing is that at one point we worked with a company that we bought a program, super expensive, that had like a library of almost all lasts like available, and we used all those lasts to create this one. So we put all those lasts like on an average together, and then added multiple, like here and here. It's mostly parts where people have like problems. So we added space here because of that inner skeleton. If you don't need it, it doesn't fill it up. But if you need it, you can heat mold it and it will fill it up. So that's kind of how it works, which is quite... And the interesting thing is that we also use insoles. So there's a carbon bottom insole under the normal insole, and that's to close off everything inside. So you have these where you do your mountings inside, or, let's say the rubber piece on the heel. And one thing I always want is that it's a perfect closed arch. That is like works for a lot of people, which we can also adjust. And then on top, there is an insole of your choosing. So even if people have like an orthopedic insole made, we can mostly, we always ask like the person who makes the insoles to make it also for this, so that it's not too big. But we work together with My Sole, which is affordable, more orthopedic insole. So they have like 10 to 20 different insoles for different types of feet. You can just put that in the shoe. It is a bit of to the customer. They can tell me like, I have problems with this. First, you need to try it because it's not the same shoe. I mean, you can have issues in your old cycling shoe. That doesn't mean you will have the same issues here. So so it's something I try to think with the customer. But it was very important that I had an insole and not just something glued on it. That you can adjust it. So
I think it's very interesting to indeed have the shell and then the socket, so I can call it like this, inside that can be adapted. So it's really semi-custom, like you said. It's
it's quite also unique actually.
And also the shoe is almost the outside of the shoe is almost fully in carbon. So that's also something different, a big difference than other brands, the bigger brands, for example.
So the first brand that I know of that did it was Mavic. And they had, I think it was a Comet and then the Comet 2 shoe. When I saw it, I was already doing this with the skates. And I saw it and I was like, oh, yeah, yes, why not? There's two big differences. And it was a 1,000+ euro shoe, which shocked the market because it's more of a mainstream brand, you know. So for them to do that, and it's not a custom build, you know, I was like, oh, that's a lot of money. I did see a documentary about where they made it, and almost every pair was made by the people that made the samples. So it was pretty cool. And I think they stopped doing it because it's this much work. It's crazy. So one of the things with what we do is we don't use wet lay carbon. We use pre-preg carbon, which is more like an automotive way of constructing things. And we use like negative molds, which is quite expensive, but we make them ourselves.
Okay.
Yeah. So it is a higher end process because on a wet lay mold, it is basically you have the fiber and then they put in the resin and then they do it or in a vacuum or with a silicone mat and then an oven on top. It's good and it's nice. Only it needs mostly a bit more layers of carbon and then more resin to be quite accurate. With this, you need almost like some places it's 2 layers, and it's super strong, and you can control it better. So the way you do the layup in the mold, you can actually control where it needs to flex more or where it has to be very rigid. Working with carbon for me is like, it's my passion in the technical passion, you know. So it's very important to me that it's of the highest grade. And the construction is just, these days it's quite aero as well, which is a plus for us. If you look at the bottom, it's everything is sort of slippery. On demand, we could even make that it's almost closed, or that's the cool thing with Adapt, you know. When somebody comes with a nice idea, which we also like, we can make things different.
You can adapt.
Except not a BOA system. That's I'm not against it, but like we said, with how the way this shoe works, it wouldn't have any advantage with the BOA. And what they did with the Mavic shoe, they had a BOA system on it, and partly here was all cut out. So that was soft. With an Adapt shoe, it's basically you're stuck in the shoe, very comfortable. But this, you know, when you cycle, you push, but you also pull.
Yeah.
And unless you have tried it, it's insane. It's the same level as how a track only shoe would be made, where it's almost fully closed. When you see like, whoa, how the hell can you get in that shoe? It's a full closed carbon shell with no padding, nothing. And it's custom made, so they kind of can slip in. It's the same experience, only more approachable and not like one-off, but the amount of force that you can put on this entire piece is crazy. I was even surprised. I was like, I'm always happy when I try it and I'm happy.
Yeah.
I see a lot of things that I then need to change because it was a 2-year process before I'm really happy. But when I feel, yes, this is going to be something, we were the first in the industry to do the full carbon inline skate, like full carbon, where it's almost closed. Nobody have done it ever because it's a very difficult mold. But yeah, I tried it once. I had this idea and I worked 4 years on that project. Nobody knew about it. And I tried it. I remember it was winter, was super shitty weather. And it was almost finished and it was so rough. And when I see, we still have them, we keep all samples. And when I see that skate now, I was like, oh, but it was the idea. Put my foot in, I went out, I was like, yes, it's 10 times better already.
Yeah.
And that's the difference. And unless you try it, I'm not saying because of feet it's difficult. Let's say you have a very difficult foot.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to then sometimes appreciate something when you have an issue or something. And we probably can help you with that issue. But then maybe it takes a bit longer or a bit more investment, not money-wise, but investment in getting it right, But when it's right, and it's mostly 2 weeks. With the skates, people like after 2 weeks, they get it. Yeah. They're like, first they're like, okay, yeah, I have a bit, maybe an issue here or this. Okay, and I just say, did you heat mold it? No. Okay, do the heat mold. Then break it in. It has to be yours. And it will get yours. And then all the materials start to work together, and the foams are not cheap in this, we only use very high products for this. But it comes alive. And it comes alive within this shell that like keeps everything together. For me, I have to say it's an amazing product. Like I'm sad I can't, like, because of my injury, I can't try it on. I only can fit this one for now. But
I think it's a very good product, even though I didn't try it yet. But I'm searching for a long time already for just cycling shoes. I mean, I still use cycling shoes from 2008 or 2007. They are way too big. That's the only way that I got into a cycling shoe without being pressed and on the side. That's and when I see this, then I even feel like I want to try it. I went to a quite big bike shop here in the region, and I tried all of them. I have 45. I even tried 47. I couldn't enter. I couldn't get in it. And this, I think, okay. It might fit.
Even something we want to do, and that's we're still developing it. But I did some tests where because we have a split mold, we can do like a sort of a chamfer within the mold that closes it, but then the area in the front is wider, not in the back. And that's something we can play a bit with, even if it's 1 or 2 millimeters. You don't have to go like 5 millimeters or that's maybe too wide, and you lose that force, that you want to put down, which is a shame when you go a size up. You buy a 44 because the 43, let's say, is just too tight. But you lose all that side force because of that, And what we also do is sometimes we can even, for more narrow feet, we can even build in harder foams on the inside so that you have more pressure, positive pressure. And where it's not like you're sitting at the edge of the carbon shell, but you're sitting at the edge of like a denser foam, that's,
If that's the thing, people, they don't know they are not fitting in their shoe. I'm doing some bike fits here from time to time. And when I just put the insole on the ground, say, okay, get on the insole,
Yeah.
their foot is maybe a third wider.
Yeah.
I say, don't you feel it when you're in your shoe? Oh no, I thought it was normal to be pressed in my shoe.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe it's okay to ride 60 kilometers once a week, but if you ride a lot more,
it's actually it's a fine line when in ice skating they have to, but we're talking about the highest end, because the distance, like the sprinters, they have too narrow shells basically, because of all that power needs to go for 2 minutes or shorter, all into this, and then after you can see it, they immediately open up the ice skates and like, oh, we need air. And it's like the same with climbing, where the shoes are mostly too small, because of you need that performance. Cycling, however, let's face it, most of us just want to enjoy cycling for longer times, and when you're like pushing like everything too much inside, it can be tricky. And I think that's why it's nice that it covers the top, where it gives the extra, let's say, I didn't do the calculations, but let's say the extra 10%, where you feel like, oh, you're also pulling, you're pushing, you're pulling, and not so much that the sides are, affecting it so much. So that's quite, but it has to do a lot also with the insole that you use.
Yeah. And can you tell us something about the insole? Can we pull it
Yeah,
up?
it's used. This is mine. I can take a picture. I replace insoles around every 6 months. So this one is one I prefer. It's from my sole, but it's actually made for soccer shoes.
Okay.
It is, for me, the density, like I like very rigid insole. It's a bit on the heavier side due to the foam. We offer them with different insoles. So we have a standard insole, which is lighter, which is like 20 grams lighter, or let's say 10 grams lighter. But if you want to go in towards the fit and everything, this is very interesting. I saw from Porsche, they made the Le Mans car, the winning Le Mans car, they made it heavier. And everybody was like, why did you make it heavier? Because, we want lighter. And they said, we added an air conditioning. And we're the first company to do that.
Yeah.
And everybody said, why? It's racing. And they said, it's 24 hours. You save 2 kilos on your Ferrari. We added 2 kilos to have the driver comfortable.
Yeah.
In the end, who's going to be the one that it can still push? The one that is comfortable. When you do an endurance sport and you're not comfortable from the start because you think like a sprinter, then you're not in it for the long run. So when you have a comfort, then you can push at the end where the finish line is, you know. And I thought it was really nice because it's like such a big brand, and everyone was like, why would you put an AC in a race car, and the mindset was so clear. They were like, yes, but the driver always is like, when he gets out, he's drained. And now they weren't, and they won again because it worked, and it's the same with that's why we use like a mesh on the inside where it actually can breathe.
Yeah.
And it's funny with carbon. So carbon doesn't really get hot or cold. It kind of stays the same. So in summer, they're quite cool.
Yeah.
And in the winter, you get more of this helping you to keep it a bit warm,
Yeah.
So that's why there's no really ventilation holes. We tried to put ventilation holes, and then we're like, do we actually feel different? No, not.
Yeah.
So
And also, for my experience, I have right now Shimano shoes, but in the sole there is ventilation holes. But right now in the winter it's cold, and also when it rains, it's very, very it's not comfortable.
No,
because your sole is immediately wet. And
we have this. I would say it's around 90% around. Of course, because there's,
Yeah.
through the laces and everything. And there can be like water that comes in, of course. If you go through a puddle, bad luck. You have to steer around it. But I'm surprised. I did with the inline skates. We had the same thing. I did the 24 hours endurance test. It was a team with 6, and it stopped raining for half an hour during the 24 hours. So it was only rain, and I was the only one with no wet feet. Because nothing came in, nothing went from the top. So yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that's our selling point, but it's a nice extra that the water is kind of like just goes off for the main part. We played around with the checking if we really needed holes somewhere, or but to be honest, like it's custom work. So if you really want it, let's say you bought these and it's summer and you're having complaints, just write me an email and send them back. We'll make the ventilation in it.
Why should you need a ventilation?
For me, that's the thing. Maybe it's a personal thing. Like we had 4 people testing it. The first prototype we did was almost fully closed, and then they said we need ventilation.
Okay.
After, nobody said anything. Sometimes people have an idea because some brands or all brands are doing it, and then they're like, hey, that's what. Okay, so that's maybe brings me to the BOA system. Is the first thing people said to me. Oh, you need to do a BOA.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, but
maybe explain the system for people that don't know it.
Yeah, so BOA system is actually like a fast closing system where you have a rotating wheel that pulls a sort of nylon cord through some loops or things in the shoe. So you have mostly, depending on the shoe model, you have one point where you can pull everything together, or you have now maybe 2 BOAs where you have the front and the top, basically. All in all, very nice idea. I mean, it works for a lot of people. Only when we were thinking of doing this, we saw, who was it? Was it Van der Poel? Who was going towards the finish, and he fell in his BOA.
And the World Championship.
Yeah. It's like, that's our advertising. Printed out, really big. I mean, things can happen. It's materials. I mean, it happens. You can break a lace. I mean, that happens. So, but I thought it was funny. So it's a very technical thing. For me, I like to have the feel of control, where a lace you can actually adjust, and this is personal, more refined. So we tested a lot of things. You can actually see this where the laces are in the carbon. This was way too harsh. For skating, it's fine. For this, like, it is so harsh. I mean, there is no system pulling it so hard than this. It was insane. So first I was like, oh yeah. And then after an hour, I was like, oh, my feet need a bit of like breathing, because it's not breathing, but movement. Because I was used to going with speed skating and everything hardcore. And I thought like, okay, I'm just going to translate it to the cycling shoe, and that didn't work.
Okay.
So what we did was we put it in the lining piece, which is structural, so it's quite rigid. And then it's only lacing, and then the simple strap actually goes, well, this one is a sample, so it goes through this and then this, so it closes the carbon together. And you can use it to put your laces in, which is something you don't want when you're like pedaling and the lace goes. But yeah, for me, I mean, the lacing, it works, and I like simple things. So when you can't outperform something simple as this, it's debatable, I would say. But for me, I like the style when it's so simple and so handmade, crafted, where we can actually alter like what we do with the lacing if you want to create different pressure. Why not, And I think last year the tour was won on laces.
I think Tadej Pogacar rides with
and
laces.
maybe depending on what
indeed.
part of the tour. But that's the thing. People are sometimes forgetting that, we came from something that was already nice and cool.
Yeah.
You know, why did we go to another place? You know, why did we change it? And that's technology. Of course, people are always exploring what they can do. We do as well. You know, like having these 3D printed in rubber, which is, we told it there at Velofolie, and they were like, oh, I didn't know you could do that, you know, and it's not cheaply made. It's not like these lines. It's rubber. It's literally rubber. So yeah, we like to be technical, but also know when to step it a bit down.
Yeah.
Same goes with logos. We are very minimalistic. So it's like a detail and not like put my stamp everywhere like this. You know, like, So we like minimalist style, and but a lot of is possible. Like I think I made 50 tongues already. Like here, it's crazy how much difference a tongue makes. It's insane. You know, if you have like a high arch or not a high arch, we can make it different. You know, and it's crazy. But even the tongue has a fiber in it, so which you can heat mold, and this creates so much like power. It's insane. Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah. And also maybe to come back a little bit to the laces. With the BOA system, you see that after some time it comes a little bit loose.
Yeah.
So you need to tighten it.
Yeah.
Is that different with laces?
Yeah. Look, it is different, but also lacing depends on the quality of the lace. So we provide very high quality with it. But it is the same like an insole. People forget about parts that needs to be replaced. So let's bring it back to skating. Oh, my wheels, you need to replace it. An insole, nobody thinks about that. Oh, wait, this is not the same insole when it was new, you know, when it gave optimal support. Same as with the laces. So when you have a waxed lace or a non-waxed lace, after, let's say, depending on how you use them, if you let them fray or let them turn within the eyelid, then basically they're going to last not as long, because they will, you know, they become like knives sort of, and they cut themselves. And that's something that a lot of people also don't know, is the size of the eyelid matters with the size of the lace.
Okay.
So I really don't like it when we did all this research for the best lace with the eyelid, and then somebody sends me like a picture, like, oh, got some aftermarket laces, and they're like way too big, and then they basically don't do the right amount of grip within the eyelid. Yeah. So the inline skates, for example, we have a bigger size eyelid, so they have a bigger lace, like a wider lace. And then these are a more narrow eyelid, so that's a more narrow lace. So it works together. And then normally when you put in a rounded lace, those mostly have like a sort of type of thread or padding going through, and that creates a lot of stretch.
Yeah.
So if you would switch to a lace that is aftermarket, let's say, and it's a round one, it would give you different character properties while riding. So yeah, it's all fine-tuned sort of in a way, and I like to geek out about that stuff. But even Velcro, you know, we want the highest quality. You know, you don't want Velcro after a year; it still has to be the same. You know, but you can trim Velcro. That's something we do. Like on the website, we show those things, and we're gonna make videos on this as well. So if you want to keep your Velcro good, you can like get a scissors and just like trim next to it, above it, and then it's almost brand new again. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Something new for me.
yeah. So people think it's like, oh, it's done, you know, and but that's a cool thing. We can replace everything almost. Like if you, let's say something happened, you know, and the strap, gets caught on something, or it's well used over 2-3 years, I don't know, and something happens, you know, then you know that's why we're there for it. You know, we can just replace it, and you have a brand new. And maybe we'll even like polish up your your shoes, because I love to do that. So.
Yeah, but also something that I find really interesting is that the shoe only weighs around 300 grams.
Yep. Yeah, which is it gave me a lot of headaches. I went into the Instagram search, and I think a lot of companies lie about it. I'm not sure. I did quite a lot of research, and you have shoes that are 175 grams or even lighter, on average, I would say it's average weight. It's not like, whoa, it's a carbon shoe, so it's going to be the lightest. And the only reason is that we want the performance to be as the lightest, but we also want the structural of body of an actual good proper shoe. And I saw 2 days ago, I was doing some research, and all these shoes are very thin these days, and the top is almost like the knitted structure. And when you have like a bigger size, that toe box becomes very ugly. Like, and if there's something I can't live without is when you have this racing machine bike, you look down and then there's like this, they're not the same shoes, because they will, and that's what this is. It stays clean how it looks. And if we would cut this low, yes, we could make it a lot lighter. We could,
but it's maybe also a little bit like the example you made with the Porsche in Le Mans.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Yeah. That I actually, that is one. The thing is, like, you have the comfort, you have the aero. Let's face it, everything is aero these days. So it's basically almost as slippery as you can get it, because with fabrics, the air tends to like stick on it. It would be more aero if it's a matte finish. Actually, it's Formula One technology, but it doesn't stick to matte paint. Okay. And it's lighter. Matte paint is lighter than gloss paint. But exactly, that's the point. Yeah. I mean, I can get caught up on, I need to get to 200 grams. I'll probably manage, but at the cost of what? This is not a shoe that you get for 6 months. This is one that you get because you have something very special.
It's a lifelong shoe. A lifelong shoe.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, that's,
Yeah, but they tested it out for long distance cycling, and they say weight doesn't matter that much. Yeah, it's more the aerodynamic part that makes the big difference.
Yeah,
and if you have 1 or 2 kilos more because you're carrying some more food or water, it doesn't really matter that many minutes.
And I mean, if you have depending on the type of build, it's so many variables, too many. People want to they want to sell. Of course, they want to sell. And they want to be, we're the lightest. And this gets this ball rolling.
Yeah.
And then we're the lightest. It's the same with the carbon frames. I mean, sorry, but like, if you, at some frames, I'm scared. Like, if you tap on it, you're like, is this paper? And for me, that's like, sure, you can do it like in a shell of this. You could do that because it's always going to be quite structural, and it's not, if something like a crack would appear, it's not going to explode, because there is not all that power going through this thing because it's attached to the pedal. But with the frames in cycling, I mean, come on, I would rather have the safeness in my head where it's like, yes, this one has 2 layers more, but it's not gonna break when my steering wheel goes into my frame. Like, whoops! What, it has a hole in it. Like, what's? I mean, yeah. So, but in the end, then people can repair it, so they make money out of that. So it is whatever you choose to have, But there is this rule that they have to have a certain weight. Yeah. For a reason, sort of, and sure, there's this niche market where they like to do drill the holes, and even like the where is it, how do you call it, the tubes for the air,
Yeah.
where they even try to save weight out of that.
Yeah.
You know, and that's an art form on its own. You know, and sure, they could even do it. I could drill holes in everything, and it would still be structural. It would still be fine.
And there would be some ventilation.
Yeah, maybe too cold now. Maybe in the summer. But, no. So.
Maybe to come back to normal shoes that people wear all day long. What do you think about the minimalistic shoes, the barefoot shoes?
And this is again very personal, so I don't want to offend anybody. And if you're doing well with a certain type of shoe, please keep doing this. Who am I to say? Because I wear racing shoes because I love driving cars. So all my shoes have the thing on the heel. So for the heel and toe, like with the pedals. And I have a bit of a difficult fit. But so my opinion is this, and this is coming from if you do another sport next to, let's say, hiking or walking or on like barefoot, you're gonna get into quite a bit of trouble finding something to fit. That's what I saw working with ice skaters and people that have barefoot. Because of the foot gets a different way of pressure. It gets more relaxed. It has the space to relax. So in a way, it would be totally fine. I mean, a lot of people rave about it and like, yes, it works. If I would do it, I know that my foot would get slightly more relaxed and wider. And my main love for sports is either a very not narrow, but a very tight fit inline skate that has to be precise. And that's my main focus. Or it's cycling, where I want all the power in this. Or it's racing cars, where the shoes, I don't make race shoes, but they're very tight, and that's all for feel. So everything I do is towards feel. And then a barefoot maybe takes away a bit for the other shoes or sports that you have or practicing. And that's my opinion about it. I don't see anything other than that, to be honest, that is like, but I know from people started complaining more and more within ice skating world and within cycling that people are like, oh, I have a wide foot, you know, and it's mainly due not having maybe enough support in the right places. That's my opinion.
I know somebody who is wearing the 5 fingers from Vivo Barefoot. Yeah. And it's the only shoe that doesn't hurt him while standing up.
Go for it.
Yeah. But now he gets into cycling and it's horrible for him.
Yes.
And
that's the only thing I'm saying, actually. It's a transition of what you ask from your body. Yeah. So you're getting used, because it takes time to get used to it, like the 5 fingers. I actually have a good customer and a friend who is also into, yes, it's the 5 fingers thing. And he's the one I have to adjust a lot in the skates. So I get it when your main, let's say your 80% in life is I want to walk without any hassle, and that fits for you, by all means, 100% go for it. And then sure, you might have to look in adjusting that 20% shoe that you have that you use for the 20% of the time or less even, because to be honest, how much do we really use it, you know? But it's not without consequences, you know. It's not bad, I mean, but going always to a different shoe is also, you know, it needs adjusting. So give your body sometimes the time to adjust. These days it's like you try it on in a shop and it's like, it's not good, you know, and you toss it away. Maybe it was good after a while. You don't know, you know, you need to kind of, sometimes it takes a bit of time to get the right gear and the right setup. You know, how many people have like older people have these shoes that are like they look 100 years old, and they still use them, and the fit is perfect. And even with high-end leather shoes like Van Bommel or other brands, they put in a tag where it's like very gentle reminder, which I like. It's like, hey, I'm made by a person. I'm leather, so I will form over time. But please, give it the time. And also, when you take off the shoes, undo the lacing the proper way. Open it up. Don't pull it out, And then, before you close it down, maybe check if all the lacing is nice, and then you put it away, and then when you take it back, it's in perfect order. And not a lot of people have the patience to do that, and it's maybe a bit of a thing. Like I always like to do my laces very nice with everything. What's your opinion on barefoot or like?
I actually really like it. I don't wear 5 fingers, but I also have a foot problem. It even made me stop cycling when I was younger. I had surgery at my feet, both of them, and had insoles, orthopedic soles, all these kind of things. And actually, the first time I tried a barefoot shoe, that this is nice. Finally, I can feel my feet. I don't feel like pulling them off from the sudden moment I'm home. But then again, indeed, the problems with the other shoes.
You did have that issue, right?
Yeah. Indeed. So cycling shoes for me, it's difficult to find.
But I mean, like if you see that there is a market and people are being helped by like a 5 fingers or a wider shoe, maybe the market should kind of more evolve, and be like, okay, so we offer something that is not like very super tight, but more, towards like if you would email me this, for example, like, hey, I actually asked those questions, like, what do you use for shoes on average, and that kind of sets the mindset, like, oh, okay, so you're more into this, and it's also mostly people are different way of thinking, and they have put time into getting the right shoe, so then I mostly know, okay, so you're somebody that's more used to having like a more like the spread of the toes as well. That's all like stuff that we can kind of try and incorporate for as far as we can.
But I think the same thing like your running shoes. So you have all these popular brands. Probably they also use the foam that isn't that good. So when you run a marathon, every time you land on that foam, your foot will wobble a little bit.
Yes.
So your muscles, they have to work more. You get injuries. And then you have the more minimalistic brands. You don't have to go to no soles at all. But they put work in it, and it changes a lot. And I know some top marathon runners, they have to run because they are sponsored from a certain brand.
But they don't have that shoe. They have a custom made.
Or they don't train with it. Because they say, I cannot train 150 or 200 or 300 kilometers a week with that shoe. It's impossible.
In ice skating, it's the same in running. The brands, like, what you buy is not that shoe. Like with Usain Bolt, there was one person in charge of making his shoes. One person. But then everybody saw, oh, I have the same ones, No, you don't, And that's, it's marketing mostly, But with marathon runners, is the same thing. They will probably have maybe a denser foam difference. Like that shoe was maybe, if it's one of the really top ones, that it's made for them. And it's not coming out of the shelf,
And I think it's when you see people running here in Belgium or Netherlands, same thing, and you really think you shouldn't run because you're hurting yourself.
Sometimes you see that.
Is it a Belgian thing to say? It's like, don't run unless you're going for fries. Always run.
And then maybe it's it's a philosophy, I don't know, but I think when you don't have that cushioning effect from when you were a kid, maybe you would run differently. Maybe you would have run with the technique that's better.
Yeah, I'm actually convinced of that. Yeah, that's something I follow really, like within my skating, everything. If you mess with the insole or the density of the impact, I mean, when we did like the stunt skating, there was like this trend where you need a shock absorber in the heel.
Yeah.
This big.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not wearing high heels,
No.
and it was so. I actually got cramps in my feet. I was like, "This is too much," you know.
Yeah.
And it was like Solomon. It was a big company, and it was like this insoles, like the PU foam, like you could press it, and it's like, oh, it's amazing. It absorbs everything.
Yeah.
Well, gone is all the finesse. Gone is all the power that you put down.
Indeed.
And it's like there is a point. It's like the perfect raise is depending on the feet, but it's like on an average between 9 and 11 millimeters of raise for depending on the sport that you're doing. And yeah, when they put in like a 2.5, you know, it was ridiculous, you know. And I think at a young age, I was like, I took it out and I replaced it and I made something else because I was like, this is not good. It's not working, you know. And with Adapt, we always had our skates people that first got Adapt. They're like, oh, I need a big shock absorber. And this, I was like, no, you need 2 weeks of time on this, and then we talk again.
Yeah.
And we have a denser heel cup in the skates, and some have it, and other ones don't have it, depending on the shape of the boot. But it's so important, you know. It's so important that is right. Cycling a bit less because you're basically you don't absorb shocks. You know, you're not running, you're not doing any of the unless you go cycling.
Chris Froome.
There's always
always an exception. That confirms the rule.
Yeah, that's very interesting because with shoes, it's like that's what I mean with the support. It's, you know, all these brands have gone like the soft route, and it's mushy, and they have this almost popcorn looking soles, and you're like, okay, and I'm pretty sure that your business is going to be a lot better when all those kids age and you're like doing this because you have to fix them because they had all these issues from wearing like all over the years, like not really supportive shoes. Yeah, but I mean, I get it, you know.
But it's also very difficult because people, they don't believe you. Say, okay, I go to the shop, I can only buy that kind of shoes.
Yeah.
What kind of shoes do I have to buy? And then I can give some examples, but they don't look great. And I don't want to wear that kind of shoes. I want to be fashionable. And okay, do it, but your neck will hurt for the rest of your life.
The amount of, so coming from like the inline skating world and the aggressive skating world, you know, it's mostly like sneakers and stuff, you know, when off skate. And I'm always, I don't know, people always thought I'm this business type guy because I was the only one wearing like leather shoes with a hard like sole and handmade like leather shoes, and they would be like really nice, but I would still have my baggy clothing and then those shoes. And people were like, he's like, what is that? What is? And people would ask me like, did you come from a wedding or whatever? I was like, no, these are like they're really good, you know, and I have support in them. And I mean, I would have to bring that back. That's
But it's the same thing with the hallux valgus problem. So the big toe that comes to the outside. And people say it's my grandmom had it as well. So it's genetic. No, it's not genetic. Your grandmom just had too small shoes as well. Especially these with the heels and they wear it all the time. So
I have to say, due to my injury now, something I was not aware of. It was quite interesting. I mean, it was not fun, but it was interesting. Like, because I didn't put any pressure anymore on for more than 100 days on my foot. The toes my big toe went actually like under the other one because of never having any pressure. And all the muscles were really like it's weird to see yourself going from good legs and then going like, you have like one tiny leg. But the muscles, how fast they disappear in a foot was shocking. They took off the cast, and literally I think me and my wife were looking at that foot like, who replaced my foot with this tiny, it was literally like this, and it went like this. It's crazy. And all those things were like the muscles and everything was just like went like this. So it was quite weird to see. But I could see my toe was just like going like this, and now it's better. It's back again. I'm building it up. But you can see how much muscles and everything matters. But good footwear is so important. I mean, we spend how much time on our feet, and it's the thing we don't care about in general. Nobody's like, don't look at my feet, or I don't care, or whatever. But something is on my hands, I have to clean them or whatever. And that feet are so important, and it's so part of doing most of our sports that we like, but you would cramp them in something that is like this for hours, and which is weird.
It's the proof that the right pressure on your feet is so important to grow these muscles, and you didn't have any pressure on your foot for more than 100 days, and your foot got handicapped almost.
It's true. I'm always like, yes, feet adjust. And so in a way, you're like, if you have this performance thing that you need, in a way, see what you need or like, but if it can be helped, just as you with the 5 fingers, it works for you, perfect, but then you might have to look somewhere else to have a fitting solution for your sports.
But I didn't wear the 5 fingers, but I know people that do wear them, and it's a big problem afterwards. Indeed. It's also funny that you said that the lasts come from China.
Mostly. From the inline skating, I know 100% for sure.
And from
not our last.
From normal. Shoes.
We had. We sometimes work with some parts that needs to be manufactured in China, and that's not for this, but it's more like a bolt or something else that we need to get. And they said like, we have this quad skate that we can send you as a sample if you want to sell it. They're looking for people to sell it. I was like, always interested. Like, send it over, and I'm like, who has these feet? I took it out of the box, and it was the point was in the middle, like the.
Wow.
I was like, what is this? I tried it on. I was like, this doesn't work, and they just look at like, it looks like this, and we sell it, And
the beautiful role model in China is having small feet.
I know,
and they really put the kits in almost blocks.
On blocks.
To have the feet and as small as possible. Indeed. So if the lasts are made for this, then
I mean, I had once a saying. Once a saying where it's like, I'm not gonna build a shoe that is bigger than a size 42. Because of proportions. As for women, it's 39 is sample size, and then men is mostly 42. Because of proportions, where it's like, this works. And then you have this customer that, of course, wants can you make like a size 50? With this is better than with inline skates, because inline skates have like fixed mounting points and frames. And then you have this boat on top of it. So that's, but I got away from that idea, and like, I'll just make everybody happy. I'll try to make as much people happy and not be fixed on that sizing.
Especially in Netherlands, probably are big feet.
Mostly, but they're always surprised when they go 1 or 2 sizes down on Adapt, which is mainly due to 42 is a number, and every brand has their own. I mean, if you order online and you order always 42 and you go with a different brand, good luck. you know.
Yeah, indeed.
So we try to do like the Mondo point where we kind of try to measure, and then still you have like how is your heel shaped, how is the toe kind of shaped, you know, all that stuff, you know, where do you measure? It's always a bit tricky. Yep.
No, it's a very interesting product, and maybe also one question that I've got for you. It's just a thing. Maybe still on a point, there's a pro cyclist coming to you. He knows Adapt. He says, "Okay, can you build for me a shoe?"
Mm-hmm.
What will you do? Because you say, "I don't want to get in that mass production."
I do have a goal in mind. I want to be the best at least one area of cycling. So in a way, I'm very interested in when they're at the top of their game. And that's for me very interesting, because within skating, we have one of the best team riders in the world. So within skating, we achieved that. We had the best skaters on our skates. And within cycling, I don't want to just be like, here's free shoes, but I would like to have somebody that is coming from, maybe this is wishful thinking, but somebody that is coming from the bottom, and here are the shoes, and he appreciates the value of the shoe, and then he takes it to the next level. That would, for me, be very nice. It doesn't have to be like, oh yeah, this team buys all the shoes, you know, and I mean, yeah, that would be,
it will be nice.
Be funny, you know, to see like, hey, you know, but gives pressure as well. Yeah. Something happens, you know. I'm pretty sure when somebody falls and a frame breaks in two, they're gonna film it, and then your brand is on the frame. Please go and work on damage control, because that's. Imagine you just released a new Pinarello frame. Next tour, somebody breaks it by a crazy accident, which is every bike frame would have broken, but it's your name on it, you know. And with this is the same. Once you sell it, it's your name on it, you know. And yeah, you know, you also hope sort of for the best, you know. But yeah, that would be very interesting also to see the relation between a pro on that level, and getting maybe even a feedback or something.
Indeed. He also got experience with his shoes that he's wearing right now, so it will be a win-win, I think. But yeah, could be, as you said, there will be a lot of pressure, and
I think the human relation would be the most important for me, where it's somebody that doesn't just wants free stuff. You're at the wrong address, because I can be very stubborn as well.
That's a good thing in business.
It depends, you know, but it's a one-man vision sort of idea, and but if somebody is literally like, hey, these work, I wouldn't like it when it's not working for that person and he feels like he has to promote something. I mean, it would be nice if he's like, oh, this is for me, it's working, and look at the performance I can do with it. You know, that would be amazing. You never know.
I think that's a good point.
That's a wrap.
To end this podcast episode. It was really interesting. I learned so much about laces, building shoes.
I'm just here to sell laces.
I'm really astonished about all the things you can adapt. And all the things you researched. It's amazing.
It's my weird passion.
I'm blown away.
Good. It's nice to hear. Yeah, it was nice to have me here as well. It's my first podcast for anything related to cycling, so I was a bit nervous, but it was good.
I'm sure it will be a success. I'm 100% sure.
If we sell one, I'm happy. If that person is happy with it, of course.
I hope you'll buy 2 shoes, not 1 shoe.
You only sell the one. All right.
No, but so Jelle, we will have a next conversation in the coming weeks also with another one. So I'm very happy that we had you here in Helu with our podcast. And so to our listeners, thank you for listening, and see you in the next episode. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.